Hi, Stitchers!
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Keisha, and we are the Pattern Queens, and welcome to Special Stitch with Us, episode 31.
Ooh.
Today is Sunday, February 12th, and this is a channel about cross stitch.
And silliness and friendship and ramblings and lots of shenanigans. And maybe filming a little early and you're seeing this a week later.
Yep. As we said in the video that's actually going up today, we've probably washed these clothes already, but we're filming back to back, so we're not wearing the same stuff 2 weeks in a row. Though that does sometimes happen to me.
Katie and I have actually done filming here and brought clothes to change into, which I didn't think about.
Oh, well, that's okay.
So
I'm just we're doing this in advance, but we told you the day, so you already know that.
yeah.
So the reason why we're filming in advance, well, I'll get into it in just a minute. We're working on, we're both going to work on Sea Glass from Carolyn Manning, and I'll try to not show you the pattern. So that's what we're working on today. And I'm stitching on a piece of 40 count Anthracite from Zweigart, and here's where I am.
And I'm working on a piece of 32 count Water Lily from Wichelt, and I started in the opposite corner. This is where I am.
Thanks.
And my pattern is straight ahead of me, so I will look funny looking at it today.
And mine is on a tablet in my lap. So.
Yeah, I left mine at home.
So if we look down, I mean, we're going to be looking down at our stitching anyway. You're not.
So grab your project, pause us here, grab your project and get a drink, get whatever you want, and come sit and stitch with us.
Yes. And tell us what you're stitching in the comments, because we would like to know.
Yes.
We would like to look at what that project is and then probably buy it, or at least that's just me. So the reason why we're pre-filming today is I will be out of town next week. We will be going to my in-laws, so I'm really excited for that. It's my 6th wedding anniversary.
Woohoo!
It's exciting, and so we go for my niece's birthday, and that's why Iowa instead of having a date here. And then my in-laws have graciously and excitedly said, "Oh, we'll watch James." And we're like, "Oh, yes, that sounds great." So we're gonna have a couple days. We'll be up there a couple days, and we will be eating and drinking and being merry up there.
All the good stuff.
All
right?
the good stuff.
And there will be cake.
Yes. At some point there will be birthday cake. There's nothing bad about that. I'm also excited. There is a place, if you're ever in Des Moines, there are a couple different shops. They're owned by the same person. There's the cheese shop, which is a cheese shop where you can get a cheese board. It's very good. The people there are very knowledgeable. They opened up another location called the Cheese Bar, where they do craft cocktails and more food. And one of the things they do is they do a cheese fondue that you can get.
Oh.
And one of the things that you can dip in your cheese fondue are slices of fried potato.
Oh, yum.
And I don't know why that isn't a thing at all the fondue places I've been to. Putting a potato in cheese just sounds right. So I've told, we went there last year on our anniversary weekend, and I told my husband that we definitely have to go.
Now I would like to go to the melting pot. That's all I'm thinking.
Yes, the melting pot is good too. Today is Super Bowl Sunday, the day that we're filming, and that is very exciting in our neck of the woods because the Kansas City Chiefs are playing in the Super Bowl, which means about half the people I work with are just planning on planning on taking a vacation day tomorrow.
Oh, so I work for the school district, and we have been told that we will be there or we will be docked. There are no days off tomorrow.
I'll see where my husband works, usually on the days after a big game, they have like special food and stuff brought in to try to incentivize people to not call in sick.
That's an awesome idea.
So, which I think is good.
We are really, really, I mean, not only do we want the Chiefs to win because, it's local, but also if the Chiefs win, then we will have a big parade here in the Kansas City area. And my school district decides not to fight it. There will be so many kids out on that day that our district just does what they call a red snow day.
Oh, yeah.
And they will just close the school for that day. So, that's always fun. We would love to have a red snow day to celebrate.
Yeah. Well, and last time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, my boss said, doesn't matter if you have vacation time or not. If you want to take the day off, take the day off. You can take it without pay, with no penalties. So I did take that day off, and we went to the cross stitch store and watched the parade at Los Cabos. Because I wasn't, football is okay. It's not my favorite. And at that time I was pregnant, so I wasn't going to go be out in the crazy and everything. But I just kind of want to watch the parade on TV. So,
I love watching football. I love watching professional football. I don't really follow college sports. Keisha is very much more a baseball fan.
Yes.
And I enjoy going to the games because I love to people watch. Any live sport is fun. Most live sports, let me go back, are fun to go to just to go and people watch.
Right. I've never actually, I need to go sometime to a Chiefs game. I've never been, but I really like seeing live sports just because of the atmosphere and the camaraderie and everyone, cheering for the team. And I just feel like it's really fun to get caught up in all that. And like I said, I just don't really watch it. It's not a favorite of mine. I know like all the rules, I can watch it and follow the game and everything, but it's just not my favorite to watch.
If you enjoy people watching and being outside for things, I know that that cross stitch day or National Crafting Day fall during baseball season. And I have actually gone out and taken my stitching with me.
Oh, really?
And sat in the stadium and stitched and watched people and just had a good time with it.
Sounds fun. See, I am the person, I don't think I've taken my cross stitch to the baseball game and left it in the car, because usually if I'm there, I'm the one who's like joining all the chants and cheering and yelling and eating the ballpark food.
I think we probably got there early and I stitched beforehand.
I did do a few years back, they did a wine and paint at Kaufman. And so I went with a friend and we painted it was like kind of the logo they were using for the year. And actually that is in my son's room because that's where all the baseball stuff went before he was born, and it just kind of stayed up in there. So we painted beforehand, and then we all sat in the same section, everyone from that class, to watch the game, which was fun because everyone kept stopping. The people walking was like, what's in these bags? Because we had these big bags with paint canvases in them. And one of the best things about that is there was a family that was there. It was I assume a man and wife and their couple of daughters, And it seemed like the dad was there very begrudgingly and just to like, do something that his family wanted to do. He was one of the best painters in the entire
Of
class.
course.
He was so good. Everyone was just oohing and eyeing over his thing. So
when I was growing up, you could go to the baseball games, the Royals games, pretty inexpensively. In fact, they had one night, probably during the week, where you could go really, really, really cheap. And you used to be able to like pop your own popcorn and take that in with you. And so my mom would get a huge bag of popcorn ready, and we would take that with us. But we would go and just buy tickets out there, and you sat way up.
right.
But it was so fun just to be out there, and they really enjoyed being out at the games. I can also remember that because my dad used to umpire games that just for Little League and stuff, we were known to just stop. Nobody was playing that we knew. We were known to just stop at fields and just go watch whoever was playing.
Oh, really?
Little League games, didn't matter. We would just go stop. And there were a few times where we would get there and something would have happened with one of the officials, and my dad would say, I can step in. And so he would go and officiate a game too. And yeah, it was just, that's what I did. We went and we watched whatever was going on. And I think that's where I got my appreciation of not only watching a sport, but just enjoying the people watching and seeing how it affected them, because I didn't have any stake in the game. So,
yeah.
And then like basketball has never really been my sport. However, where my husband worked when we were first married, they were sponsors of the tournament that comes here to the Kansas City area. And they would have a suite and they would have seats available. And Jeff could get tickets and we would just go. We would plan and take a couple of days off, and we would just go and watch whatever teams showed up to play in the tournament. And, like I saw teams from Hawaii and who knows where all, but it was just fun again to just go and watch the live sports.
Right. So see, I'm not a big basketball person myself. One of my brothers is really into it. But the college tournament that they have here in the city, they used to have it the same weekend as the comic book convention. And then it was also around St. Patrick's Day. And so there was always like a marathon downtown. So we would go to the comic book convention and we'd be walking around downtown. They're all in the same spot. It was so hard to find parking because so many things were going on. And you could tell who was there for what. Because you're like, okay, well, you still have a number on. So I think you were running. You're dressed in like athletic gear. So you're probably here for the basketball tournament. And you seem to be wearing a Jedi robe. So you're probably here for the comic book convention. It was always really
So
fun.
it truly was March Madness.
Yes,
then.
very much so. It was just, we would just have the best time just like watching the people. Because we would, if the weather was nice, we'd always try to eat outside whenever we'd go get something to eat, just to watch the people milling about. But I do remember when I worked downtown, it was so hard to try to drive home because there was so much foot traffic downtown. So, but your dad umpiring games like that sounds like my husband's dream. He and his best friend, we have boys the same age, and it's the dream that they're just gonna like coach little league teams together.
I think, well, I had 3 older brothers and my dad did coach, and they just needed people to show up and officiate games. And
Right.
so he would just do that.
Yeah.
And my brothers were all a lot older than me, and not a lot, but they were quite a bit older than me. And so I think, that just missed me. I didn't play any sports.
See, I didn't really play. I played when I was in kindergarten and first grade. I played softball. And I wasn't very good, but I tried really, really hard. And what that means whenever you're 6 or 7 years old is that you get put at first base because you're the only one paying attention.
Oh,
But you don't really have an arm good enough to do anything.
as an adult, when I went to work at this bank, we had a company team, and I actually pitched
Oh, really?
softball. So, but that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Mm.
It's not that I'm not. I mean, I definitely can play okay. I'm not really overly athletic, and certainly not now, but it just wasn't my thing. I was definitely more into music and theater and
Yes, same here. I just have no real aptitude for sports, but I am pretty competitive and I try really hard. And it was funny, the only time in my life that I have felt like a star athlete was my freshman year of high school in PE class, because our school had two different PEs. There was the PE for the kids who weren't in sports, and then there was athletic conditioning for the kids who were in sports. And so you didn't really have to try that much in the PE I was in. And so it was just people who had to take it in order to graduate. And but I was a good kid who always brought my gym clothes, and I always tried really hard. And also the high school gym teacher, she had also been my elementary school gym teacher, and I already had a reputation for being a good kid who just tried really hard. So I always got picked to be the captain of all of the sports and like pick who was going to be on my team. And I'd be really good at flag football. I was really good at basketball. But again, it's because there were no athletes in my class, and because I tried and no one else really cared.
I think about my only claim to fame is that in junior high, we had to do the president's physical fitness test. That was a big thing then.
Yes.
And I did pretty well at all of those individual things, but my forte was, there was one where the girls had to just hang from the bar, and you had to keep your chin above the bar. I could hang forever.
Oh, really?
Eventually, they would just say, "Get down," because I had just gone completely beyond what I needed to be at the top score for that. And yeah, there were a couple of us who could do that, and that was just fine.
That's amazing. See, I could not do that. I could get my chin up above the bar and then I would fall right down because I have no upper body strength. My thing on the president's fitness test is the sit and reach.
Oh,
where you just have to, reach as far as you can, because I can reach past my toes. Like I can, if I sit down, I can put my whole hand past my toes. I'm very flexible in my lower back. So that's what I was good at. I could do that one, and I could do the sit-ups one, but I couldn't really do. I'm not good at running. I'm not good at pulling myself up. I don't know if you had to do the shuttle run. Did you have to do that where you ran a little bit? We would have to pick up erasers, put them down, pick up another eraser.
I can't remember if we did that as part of that test or not.
I fell down almost every time I tried to do that, because I would be running too fast and I couldn't get myself stopped, and so then I would just fall down. And one year, my teacher was like, "It's okay. You don't need to try again."
What I do remember is that we had to run, if we had to run the mile, I believe.
Yes.
And the girls So we only had one track and it wasn't a real track. It was out in the grass, and it was worn down enough that you could run on it. You knew where it was.
Right.
But the boys were the ones who got to use it during that whole thing. So the girls had to run on this little blacktop, basically just a little playground and small. And so we were running in this circle. And if you've ever run in smallish circles, your legs start to hurt.
Yeah.
And if we could have turned around partway through and run the other way so that you could stretch your muscles the other way, it probably would have been better. But I can remember, I didn't do poorly at it, but I can just remember that was the thing that most of us hated, because you couldn't get any speed. You just couldn't get momentum in the whole thing. It was too short, and you were pretty much constantly on an angle turning.
No, I was with the kids walking a lot of the mile. I've never been much of a runner. I do remember we had to, in college, you had to take Fit and Well in order to graduate, and they had another test similar to that. So for one of the things you had to do was like a grip strength test. And I am not, like, you can ask my husband. I think James can squeeze better than I can half the time. And like you had to like squeeze, and it like would tell you how good your grip strength was. And I had to tell my professor, and he's like, and I was like, yeah, I know. It's not great. I need people to open my pickle jars.
I definitely do now. They're used to all that, but it was always, I never minded PE, but it was just never my thing. I was not the athlete. One of the sports I enjoy a whole lot is professional tennis.
Yes. I think that's an interesting thing about you.
And I really, really enjoy watching it. And I've gotten my husband kind of hooked on it.
Oh, really?
So, and now it's so much more readily available to watch, that we can get in on the early parts of tournaments, and we can get in on a lot of the challenger events, so that you get to know who the players are.
Oh, okay.
And you get to see, like, maybe they're not going to be the people who win this year, but you get to see the people who are progressing.
Right. That's fun though.
It is. I mean, it's really exciting. So, and of course, he joined at a great time. He got to see Coco Gauff play against Venus, who was her hero for the, and she won that match, and that was very exciting for her at such a young age. And it's fun that he's gotten excited about it too.
But it's always nice to have someone who wants to watch and enjoy that sort of thing with you.
And then our friend Felicity, her parents will travel from where they live to the Australian Open, which is decently close. It's a couple of hours away. And they will get to go and watch that. And I always tell her, oh, I just want to be there. But Felicity and I will geek out a little over tennis. And they've had some awesome champions from the Australian team lately, too. So
that's exciting. I was trying to think of like not that tennis is a weird sport, but it's not like one of the top, NBA, MLB, NFL here in the US that I like. My dad used to watch a lot of World's Strongest Man competitions. So I know a lot about World's Strongest Man competitions, which just blew my husband's mind. Whenever we were dating, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I think probably on a Sunday, and there was a whole bunch of football games on, and I didn't really care to watch them, but I saw a little TV that had World's Strongest Man competition on it. And so I'm watching it and I'm like, their technique for this cake toss is not very good. And my husband looked at me and I was like, I've seen a lot of cake tosses in my day. And he's like, oh, okay.
Things you never think you'll hear your partner say. Right, yes. So.
Yeah, ask me about a good farmer's walk, pulling a train. You got to get low and you got to pull it until it gets going, then you can get up. But so that's one of the like sports that weirdly know a lot about. I do not really play myself because I'm not very coordinated or good at it. But my one of my brothers, an uncle, and a grandpa all play in a like a billiards league.
Oh, fun.
My brother's pretty good. So
Okay. Fun fact about me.
um,
I once won a pool cue
Oh.
in a tournament.
Wow. Well, that's cool. I'll have to invite you to my parents' house and play on my brother's.
I'm not good. I think that I played when I was at community college here locally, and there was in the room, I was on student government. And there was a pool table up in the area where we would kind of hang out to support all the students. And so there were guys who would come in and girls who would come in who would give lots of pointers and tips. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I had relatives with pool tables, so I would get to go and play. And
Right.
but it was kind of fun because my pool cue comes apart and it's in a little case, and
Nice.
you could carry your pool cue along with you. Things you didn't know about me, right?
About you. See, my brother, there's one at my parents' house because he has a pool table, and like since he plays in tournaments, he has all the stuff. And then at my uncle's house, they have one, and so that's usually where we go for Christmas to do family Christmas. And the first Christmas that I brought Timothy to that celebration, he got pulled into the garage to play pool with my uncle and my dad and my grandpa, because my dad's good too, he just doesn't play in leagues. But and so I guess my grandpa was just like standing behind Timothy and basically like doing the no, hold your arms like this, okay, you want to hit the ball right there, because Timothy is not very good. I'm okay, I'm passing, but just from the people that I come from, I'm not very good.
It's kind of fun when you have people who are really good at something and who are generous with their knowledge and willing to like kind of coach you to do things, because I enjoy that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely a teachable person.
I'm excited for James to get tall enough to be able to see up over a pool table so that he can get some pointers and just be good at that. See if he's got it in his genes.
I think Keisha would tell you that I am teachable because she has taught me all sorts of stitching things and computer things, and we shared spreadsheet tips. Those are two words together.
Spreadsheet over spreadsheets. It's a word that we've come up with, and we're gonna use
That's it.
No.
But I feel like we've had a very good back and forth exchange about things that we learned and things we're willing to share.
Sure. Well, I think that being teachable is one of the best sort of personal traits you can have, because there's always something that you can learn from someone else. And it doesn't matter who it is, even if it's, even if you've been doing something for a long time and they just started, sometimes a fresh perspective is really good. And you can learn a lot of new things that way. So you just have to be open.
It's one of the questions that I got asked because I started my career as a para late in life. And when I went to interview for the second position that I ended up taking, they asked me, well, how do you feel about having a younger teacher as your immediate supervisor? And I said, well, I feel like that's okay. They have graduated more recently. They probably have fresher ideas, newer ideas, are more up to date on what's new and what's going on. And I'm new to this, so I'm always willing to learn.
Right. And see, I'm on the opposite side of that, or have been for a while, because I'm I'm actually the youngest in my department, but I'm the supervisor of my department. And I've run into that in a couple different jobs that I've had, and I don't think it really matters what age you are. If you've got the qualifications and you know what you're doing, that should be respected. But also, as a supervisor, I know enough to know that I don't know everything that's going on all the time, and that my staff definitely can show me things. Like I try to tell them that even if it might not look like I fail on a daily basis, I fail on a daily basis, and we're all here and we're all just trying to help each other.
So when I supervised out at the local amusement park in the office, I would tell my people regularly, I feel like training is one of my strengths. And that probably serves me very well as a para, because basically I'm training children.
Right.
It's just with different things. But I would tell my employees, who were mostly younger than I was, okay, I need you to learn this the way that I do it, because I'm going to explain to you how I do things and why I do things. And then once you know why I do things, if you have a better, more efficient way, please test it out, make sure it works. Let me know, tell me, because I am definitely willing to learn some shortcuts, as long as it accomplishes what has to be done.
Right.
So
if you can learn the process and you know enough about the process to change it and make it better, that is invaluable.
We had someone who was an accounting student who had just graduated. And so, of course, her knowledge of all things Excel was way more updated than where I was, because she had just graduated.
Yes.
And she taught me whatever all of the shortcuts were at that point. And that was huge, because that was one of those programs, at least at that point, which it changed so quickly. And they moved things. There were times when I asked Keisha, where did they move this? And, in the beginning, I know I would especially ask you, where in the heck did they move this? I can't find it anymore. I know it's what I need to do, but I just don't know where it is now.
Right. Well, and they change it with every update too.
Yes.
I just got an updated thing and I'm like, okay, this looks different. Where did my thing go?
And I don't really use Excel much anymore. I use Google
Sheets.
And that was quite the interesting learning curve. So
it's definitely, if you know a lot about Excel, you can kind of fumble your way through Google Sheets. It doesn't have the same functionality, but a lot of the formulas are the same. So if you know the formula in Excel, you're probably gonna be able to figure out something for Google Sheets.
I know we bonded early over me messaging Keisha and saying, I can't figure out how to get this formula in. I just wanted to tell me this. And Keisha's like, oh, okay. And it took a little while, but she did come back. And of course, she was at work. She did come back later on and say, okay, try this.
Yes.
And she got it to work. But I couldn't get I just couldn't get the formatting to work for me. And it looked like what I was doing was correct, but I just missed, I don't know, one little thing.
Yeah. Well, I am a great big spreadsheet nerd. And at my job, we have varying levels of proficiency in Excel. And so I have told the people that I work with, like, if you have an Excel question, ask me. Because it will make my entire day if I can teach you something new and how to do it. So I get asked those questions a lot at work too. And I have one of my colleagues at work is kind of the same way. And so every time we see something new, we geek out about it. So
I know too, I worked in banking for a long time. And the last bank that I worked at, it was a newer bank, and they were buying up different banks in the area and forming a group. And so people at those banks were very nervous that they were going to lose their jobs and they were worried because programs weren't the same. We were using different platforms and things. And especially people who once you hit a certain age, I think you're really worried that they're going to replace you with somebody younger. And I know that I had a lady who she was just panic stricken. And I said to her, okay, I came from that system. I understand what you're trying to learn. So when you have a question, ask me, and I can help you walk through it in your language, and we'll get you ready in this one. But on the other side of that, because I worked in operations, and that's why she would talk to me, because I was in operations. I didn't get sent to training classes.
Oh,
They only sent the people who were in the branches and dealing directly with the customers to the training classes, which seems a little backwards.
right.
So I would tell them, okay, if you learn something new about these programs that you know that I'm using, will you please tell me? So this lady was so sweet, and she just blossomed, and she absolutely would come back to me and say, I had training today. And I'd say, what'd you learn? And she could update me, which then let me go into my department and say, okay, this is what they learned today.
Right.
And then everybody would get it.
Yeah.
So
It's nice whenever you work in a place where you have each other's backs and it's not competitive.
I think too, the reason that they didn't send us is that there would maybe be one thing that we would need to know.
Yeah.
And they would be getting a bunch of customer service things along with what they were doing. So, but it was good. And my team definitely appreciated that we had people who would tell us what they learned that was new. So it's always fun to have to learn to use a new phone system too.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I fight with our phones daily. So I did have some questions today. If you want me to ask you a couple of those, and then we can kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
So
we never know what she's gonna
ask. Well, so it was kind of do I ask Super Bowl-ish questions or do I ask Valentine's-ish questions? But I feel like we did Valentine's Day anniversary partner stuff last year. So, all right. Would you rather your team make it to the Super Bowl or make it to the World Series?
Oh, so am I a football fan or a baseball fan?
Basically.
Oh my gosh, a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, it was really close to us having both titles at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was so exciting. I've been frustrated with the Royals because I feel like when we get a really good team, they trade them off.
Yes.
I feel kind of like we're the training team for them to trade off to other places.
Well, and that's because if you don't really know a whole lot about baseball, if you're one of the worst teams in the league, you get the draft picks first. And so the Royals, not being very good, get a lot of good players, bring them up in their farm system, and then are just trying to trade for some maintenance rather than training people up in the system. Or they just don't have enough money to keep super high caliber players after their contracts are over.
Yes, because after we won the World Series, it was really frustrating for them to trade off our players. I'm like, no.
I feel like the atmosphere in the city is different from World Series to football. I feel like the football energy is just so much more like strong and chaotic, and I think it's because you get to focus it all in on one day. Whereas with the World Series, you could potentially have a week's worth of games to watch, and so it's like build up for World Series, and it's just for Super Bowl. But it's really fun. One of the fun things that Kansas City does is we're known for all of our fountains here in the city. And so
Oh, yes.
they'll dye the fountains in the summertime. They'll be blue on Royals game days, and they'll be red in the wintertime, fall for the Chiefs. And
That
which
is
I
fun.
think is really cool. Just a neat thing. And we definitely have a lot of places in the city that like light up the buildings and have special things that everyone does. I know last weekend we went to Union Station, not for the Chiefs things, but there were just a whole bunch of like things that you could go take your picture behind to root on the Chiefs for the Super Bowl.
We were driving here today, and there was a lady out walking her dog, and her dog had on a Chiefs t-shirt.
Yeah. Oh man,
It was so cute.
I saw people out walking. Almost everyone was wearing a Chiefs jersey. A bunch of the cars I saw today had Chiefs flags. It's pretty interesting. And then if you go anywhere in the city that has like a daily lunch special or a sandwich of the day or whatever, it's named after a player. It doesn't matter if it's football or baseball. Whatever big is going on, they're naming something after a player.
Okay, so if you don't know, Patrick Mahomes is our quarterback, and he has iconic hair. And our art teacher for the last few years, when it gets close to playoff time, will have the kids make Mahomes headbands.
Yes.
And it is so cute because they just, they take a strip of construction paper and they put it around their head and staple it, and then they make curls that go all around the front, like side to side around the front of it. So we have kids wearing Mahomes headbands at school, and that's cute. And we had a spirit week this last week, and it's fun to be there and see how excited the kids get. And huge learning lessons to get to talk to them about losses, about wins, about perseverance and the hard work that it took to get to the level that these athletes are. And it's fun to get to share it with kids because it's a whole different perspective.
For sure. And then so we're a baseball family and we don't talk about football a whole lot, but we have been talking about football lately. And I'm sure that James is getting a lot of football exposure at daycare because I know like everyone was dressed up in Chiefs stuff on Friday. So we had a snow day on Thursday, but he still went to daycare, and we put him in snow boots, which he hadn't worn before. And so we put them on him, and he looks down at his feet. I don't know why this happened in his 2.5-year-old head, but he goes, "I'm football. I'm football." It just kept saying it the entire way to daycare. So James has the football fever too.
That's so funny though, because they wear just like tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Like
I have no idea. I have no idea where he got that. He wears tennis shoes every other day, but those snow boots just made him just feel really connected to football.
That's so cute.
So, I never know what he's gonna say.
I kind of enjoy baseball weather, at least to start off, because it starts during spring, and spring is probably my favorite season.
Yes. Well, and even earlier, if you go to a spring training game, it's a kind of a bucket list thing my husband's already been to spring training in Arizona, but it's kind of a bucket list thing for me to go to the spring training in Arizona. And I've been kind of wondering how many Royals players are going to be in attendance at the Super Bowl because they play in Arizona.
Oh, yes.
They're not reporting until later on this week, but I just kind of wonder how many might be down there early to support the Chiefs because they'll be in the same place.
That is fun.
But I did see a spring training game in Florida on my honeymoon. They no longer play at Disney World, but the Braves spring training camp used to be at Disney World. And so we went and saw one of those games, and it was one of those fun things. Like Donald Duck threw out the first pitch. We took a whole day to just like kind of be in the sports complex and do that whenever we were on our honeymoon because we went to Disney World. So yeah, I'm always excited for the start of baseball season. Always a good time. Let's see if I have one more question to take us out on. I've been very chatty today.
We have.
Would you rather be the star of a bad team or an average player on a really good team?
Wow. I think that I would rather be the average player on a good team because I am like the supportive,
Yeah.
the supportive person.
That's all.
And I told you that I pitched.
Mhm.
I was one of the only people who had any experience playing any
Oh.
sport, even semi-competitively. So
Mhm.
it was really kind of a frustrating thing.
Yeah, I bet.
And I love the camaraderie no matter what. But after a while, I think my competitive side gets in there and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna say mean things and I just don't want to do that. How about you?
So I'd rather be the average player on a good team because your season gets to go longer if you're on a good team. And because it seems like a whole lot of pressure to be the one who's doing really well on a bad team. I don't know that I could take that pressure. I want to fade into the background a little bit behind a star, and I like to support too. I only want to be the center of attention when I want to be the center of attention.
I don't mind being the center of attention. Just at different things.
Yes.
So, but I love to celebrate other people's successes and see, when they're doing a good job. And with my kids testing lately at school, it's been really fun to celebrate, how well they do on things and just to let them surprise me with their perspective on things and how well they're picking up and what they really have learned by this point. Right. So,
well, and I'm also the person who just generally I'd rather lift someone up. So there have been times, at work and other things where I know that I'm the person who contributed the most to something, but I'd much rather make everyone else feel good that they did a good job because they also did a good job. So I'll be like, look at what these people did. They're so great. That's the sort of person I am. And then I'll just privately be like, great job. Yes.
Well, and I told you that I think I'm a good trainer and that's something I really enjoy. So that kind of makes sense too, that I would rather be there to be supportive and be helping out. And
right.
I like that training and teaching and growing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to get my last 10 stitches in on this because I'll have like a whole 3x3 block road or section.
Well, since I forgot my Kindle, I have just been working on one color. I can't even tell you how many stitches I've done on things. I probably could if I counted what was in. There's 10 in each one. I think I've done about 80 stitches.
Nice.
During this time.
If I finish this little section here, I will have done 110.
Wow.
Which is pretty good. I decided on this one there are just so many little spots to do that I was going to kind of concentrate on doing 3x3 blocks, I guess, so blocks of 9, and then move on to the next one so that I could reasonably keep that within my hoop and not have to bounce all over the place, but still not feel like I had to switch out my floss all the time.
So often.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a quilt block
Mhm.
that we're working on. So these are 9 patches.
Ah,
There you go.
Love
That's what
it.
we'll call them, huh?
but I've really been having a good time with this.
I enjoy this. I feel like I just like the feel of doing these.
It's really nice just kind of chatting and doing it because you don't have to think a whole lot. If you have part of the pattern and you know that you're just kind of throwing around.
It is fun to choose a color and go. Especially when you're using like Pattern Keeper, because you choose a color and it just lights up your screen.
Yes.
So I kind of like to work in those squares too and see what I can get finished up. But I start off by doing what I can within my hoop, what's touching
Yeah.
in one area. And I don't do a lot of counting over because I don't want to get off. So ours will look different just from a standpoint of how we
we're approach
it.
But that's the fun thing about stitching, right? Is there are so many different ways that you can go about doing something, and it's all the same result.
Our model that we both started this week is so funny because starting at opposite corners, where Keisha got to start is very different than where I started.
Yes. Well, and we could have started at with very similar things, but I wanted to start with sparkly floss. So I will go ahead and I'll show you where I ended. So I finished up this whole block here.
Woohoo!
So I'm very excited. I like that. I really like this. I mean, it's greens and blues that look like greens, so it's right up my alley. I've been having a great time.
How many colors have you counted? How many colors are in this one? I don't remember.
Oh, how many just overall colors?
Yes. I would say it's around 20.
17.
I was thinking my other one is like 18. So it's really fun because we haven't even touched all the colors yet.
Oh, no, for sure.
And we're moving along. I'm sorry, I'm just finishing the
okay.
last couple of stitches.
See, the bad thing about these is you're like, oh, I can just finish that little section. Oh, but I can finish that section.
Well, I'm doing my little 10 patches here. And I got to the end of one. There we go. So see, mine looks different.
Yes.
But we're getting there. You want to hold yours up again? Then you can see we've stitched close to the same amount, I would say. Mine's harder to see the light right now. But yeah.
And man, they look so different on the different colored fabrics too. That you picked a light fabric and I picked a dark fabric.
And this color, the one that goes down to the bottom, is the one I chose today. And look how similar it is.
Oh yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll show all of that. But
so fun.
The other fun thing is I had gotten some of these little drops from Ginger Stitch AU, and I had to use 2 sets because they came in sets of 10. Well, look at this. I used the green ones for the ones that are really green, and then these really sparkly ones for the ones that were more blue, and I kind of mixed. Nice. So I get all the bling to stitch mine with.
I just got mine on a really regular hoop, but
they are so pretty though. Those are our colors for it.
It's fun.
It's a great palette to work with. And
definitely. I love it. Well, do you think we've rambled enough today, Laura?
Oh, probably. And we have definitely talked about a lot of shenanigans.
For sure. So I guess all that's left to say is bye. Have a good week.